The Carolina Hurricanes have advanced to the second round in the fifth consecutive season. Find out how they did so and what we can expect in round two in this episode of Locked On Hurricanes.
Your Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hey there, Caniacs. I'm your host, Jared Ellis, and you're listening to Locked On Hurricanes on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And as always, thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of this Monday afternoon. Don't forget to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at @Ella_Hurricanes and myself on Twitter at Jared Ellis_96 and subscribe to the show on YouTube. Now, the Hurricanes, as I said, have advanced to the second round for the fifth consecutive season. This is obviously 5 straight playoff appearances under Rod Brind'amour in his first 5 years of coaching, and they have advanced to the second round for the first 5 years of his head coaching tenure. So that's obviously very, very good for them. In that first round series, they, of course, really had to battle through a lot of injuries. Of course, you are without Andrei Svechnikov and Max Pacioretty for the entirety of the postseason. You are now down Teuvo Teravainen for likely the rest of the postseason due to his broken hand, and you are also missing Frederik Andersen for the large majority of that series. Jack Drury, another guy that ended up getting hurt. So the Hurricanes had a lot to battle through in that series against the Islanders. And the special teams was a very, very big difference maker. The penalty kill was extremely dominant. It's first among all teams in the NHL in the playoffs right now, operating at a 94.4% success rate. And that was massive for the Hurricanes. It was crazy good. The power play also had some life at times, though it was inconsistent. Right now, it is at 10th among all the playoff teams, operating at an even 20%. So that is special teams. We said going into that series, me and Gail Martin from Locked On Islanders, that would be a very, very big factor. And it was. And it ultimately was the difference maker in that series. And a couple difference makers that we had in that series. Sebastian Aho, 4 goals, 3 assists. He's leading the Hurricanes in goals, obviously, right now. And Brent Burns, guy with 5 assists. Those guys are guys you want to be stepping up to the plate. Your big name guys need to play like big name guys at this point in the season. And another thing is we're having guys step up as well. Paul Stastny ended up scoring that overtime game winner in game 6 for the Hurricanes to advance. He's a guy that has looked pretty darn good in the playoffs, in my opinion. Steph Nazen, guy on the power play. I said earlier in the regular season that the power play, with him on it, it's really, really good. He's been a really good power play guy. And when he wasn't on the power play, you could tell. And he's a guy he has really stepped up in the playoffs as well. Seth Jarvis and these guys that we need to step up are stepping up, and it's not just Aho, Burns. Again, it's stepped guys like Nazen, like Stastny, and that is something that's going to have to continue into round 2 for the Hurricanes to be successful because like I said, this team is riddled with injuries right now, and they're going to be going up against either the New York Rangers or New Jersey Devils teams in the Metro Division. We know how hard these teams play each other. Heck, we just saw it in round 1, and these two teams are the Devils, especially were a team that were right on the Hurricanes' heels all season long. So they're going to have their work cut out for them. And the Rangers being a team that has had the Hurricanes number for a while now. So they are going to really have to be operating on all cylinders and firing on all cylinders. They're going to have to here in this next series because they are going to, again, be without some other biggest names, guys that were supposed to be able to give them the edge over a team like the Rangers over a team like the Devils, you're going to be without those. And yeah, now with Boston being eliminated last night, home ice runs through Raleigh, and that's great. For however much longer the Hurricanes playoff uh, run goes this season, but it does kind of feel like with all the injuries that they've had, they kind of are playing with house money a little bit, and because this series, coming up really makes me nervous because of the firepower that the Rangers have, that the Devils have, and then how good the Devils are, how good the Rangers are. It's gonna be a very, very tough series coming up, and I really do hope that the Hurricanes, they can work on some of these consistency issues, on the power play. And another thing, with when it comes to offense, yes, we knew it would be a low scoring series against the Islanders. We all kind of figured that. That wasn't a big surprise, but one thing that was a surprise is the lack of offense coming from the blue line, because during the regular season, it kind of ran through them, and it just wasn't there this postseason. Yes, again, I mentioned Brent Burns, 5 assists, but a guy like Brady Shea, he wasn't really a factor in terms of the offense in that first round series. So that's going to be something that I really do want to see change in this second round. I don't want them to just start changing stuff and for the sake of changing it and it doesn't really work out. Don't want that at all. But there are things to improve on from that first round series, and heading into the second round of who do we want to play, these injury factors that we've been talking about, because there's some stuff going on at practice today, as well as, just other things that are on around the team right now of things that could play a factor in the second round. And we will dive into those things right after this quick break, folks. Now, folks, it is very, very important to take care of yourselves, and a great way to do that is with Athletic Greens. It's lifestyle friendly, whether you eat keto, paleo, vegan, dairy free, or gluten free, and it contains less than 1 gram of sugar, no GMOs, no nasty chemicals, or artificial anything, while still tasting good. I personally like to put a little bit of lemon juice in mine. And it supports better sleep quality and recovery, supports mental clarity and alertness. It's the one thing with the best things. Athletic Greens uses the best of the best products based on the latest science with constant iterations and third party testing. Folks, taking multivitamins is very important. We want to be as healthy as we can be, and tons of people are taking some kind of multivitamin. And it's important to choose one with high quality ingredients that your body will actually absorb. AG1 is a small micro habit with big benefits. It's one thing you can do every single day to take care of yourself, and your subscription comes with a year's supply of vitamin D, which is really important. You got to be taking care of yourself. Yeah, it's getting warmer outside, but a lot of folks work inside and they can't necessarily go out and get the vitamin D from nature. But folks, Athletic Greens is here to help you. So right now, it is time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It's just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1 year supply of vitamin D, immune supporting vitamin D, and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. Now, diving into round two, we'll know who the Hurricanes are going to play after tonight between it because game 7 is going on between the Rangers and Devils. But I've seen a lot of discourse online of who we would rather play. And I will give my opinion. I've given it before, but I would rather play the Devils here. Yes, they were a team that were on the Hurricanes' heels throughout the regular season, and they are a team that has really gotten hot in the postseason. The Rangers easily could have eliminated them, but the Devils have bounced back and forced that game 7. But ultimately, I would rather play them because, like I said, the Rangers are a team that has really had the Hurricanes number as of late. You had last season, last postseason, and this season. Really been a thorn in the Hurricanes' side, akin to the Bruins at the start of this playoff streak. And then you go back to the Devils back in the early 2000s. It, this I would That's kind of the vibes the Rangers are giving me right now. It's just that team that the Hurricanes struggle to get past in the playoffs. And if the Hurricanes were fully healthy, if we had Tavo, if we had Svetch, if we had Patches, if we had those guys, I would feel a bit more confident in the Hurricanes playing the Rangers. But with them being down so many key pieces, I'm not as confident. And I would rather play the less experienced New Jersey Devils team here. And given it is no small order, it is going to be a very, very tough task for the Hurricanes to get past the Devils, should that be the team they play. But ultimately, I do feel the Hurricanes have the playoff experience that could give them the edge in that series against the Devils. That's personally what I would want, but we'll just have to wait and see there. And that's not saying that the Hurricanes can't beat the Rangers. They can. If you remember last season, that series went to 7 games. The Hurricanes have gotten that monkey off their back of winning a road playoff game. So those things right there, I'm trying not to put too much weight on those things, but it's hard to ignore just how the Rangers have beat up on the Hurricanes as of late. So I would prefer to avoid that for sure. But yeah, again, we talked about it already. Injuries, the guys were down right now, but today at practice, Jack Drury, he's out of the yellow no contact jersey, so should be good to go for game 1 on Wednesday. So that's obviously great. But here at this practice, Jalen Chatfield did end up tweaking something and leaving the ice. Rod Brind'amour said it's nothing serious, not to worry. But again, we're dealing with so many injuries right now. It is hard to not worry and be like, oh, yeah, how's this going to affect things, come Wednesday? But on the flip side, we've all done that thing, where you tweak something, you bend down or you sleep wrong or whatever. You're gonna be fine. But again, it is hard not to worry. And then Brady Shea also was not at practice today. It was said he was just precautionary, but he's a guy that, yeah, we haven't seen a lot of him this postseason, but in the regular season, he did pull a very, very big load. So you kind of want him to be there and be back for the Hurricanes on Wednesday. I hope it's nothing serious with him because he's a guy that could very well be the difference maker in this series because, like I said, he had a quiet, really, really good year this year. And, you know, goaltending, that's going to be something that I really look at in this series. Especially if you up against New York with Shesterkin, he is an absolute menace in a good way for the Rangers, but a bad way for us. But he's a guy that you want to be able to put your best goalie out there. And yes, we do have Freddie back now. He was really, really good in Game 6, but that was just Game 6. It wasn't like Ronta where he had 5 starts in a row. It wasn't like that. But Antti Ronta, another guy, can Freddie and Antti Ronta stay healthy? That's gonna be really big for this series, and then should they go to the conference finals and the Stanley Cup final, should they do that, that's gonna be really, really big for the Hurricanes. Can their goalies stay healthy? Because if you remember back when, they made these signings a couple years ago, that was a concern. Yeah, these guys can play, we all know they can, but can they stay healthy? They're both on the wrong side of 30 and injury prone, but we know they can get it done, and they're looking like they're at 100%. Ronta, he's had a bit extra time to rest now. He didn't play in game 6, and they closed it out, so they're having these couple extra days to rest and get back to 100%. So that's going to be really, really important, and it'll be interesting to see how things go in the playoffs. It was said the other day that rotating goalies are a possibility for this next series. And that's something I wouldn't necessarily like, rule out completely. But I also look at it is we're in the playoffs now, not the regular season, where you kind of flip games, go back and forth a bit easier. At this point, I would kind of like be like, if say game one, Freddie has a monster game, I would probably roll with Freddie in game two. I wouldn't necessarily go Freddie, Freddie, Ronta. I would kind of go with whoever's hot at the time. And if obviously if they had a completely crap game, then yeah, switch them out for the next one. But yeah, that's gonna be something really, really interesting for the Hurricanes. And another thing is that we talked about already is special teams. That's going to be really important here. And especially if you go up against the Rangers, you're really going to be wanting to be on your A game. I talked about how good the penalty kill has been. They get ranked first amongst playoff teams right now, 94.4%. I'll say it was just one power play goal they allowed that entire season or series. That's crazy, and you want that to continue, and that's not something I'm necessarily worried about. My main worry is at the power play. Can it be consistent? Yeah, it's ranked 10th with a flat, 20% success rate right now, but it was kinda hit and miss. You'd have a game where, you got 2 power play goals, and you got the next one, you got nothing. And you got the one random power play goal that was credited to Steph Nason that the Islanders scored on themselves. So power play consistency is going to be big going forward for the Hurricanes in round two. That's going to be a very, very big factor. Can it be good enough? I'm not looking for, top of playoff team power plays, etc. I'm not looking for anything like that. I kind of figure we're not going to see that. But I do just want it to be good enough. That's going to be big. Can it just be good enough to get the Hurricanes over the hump? That's going to be really big. Another thing that I think is really going to be important is the Hurricanes offense, but specifically coming from the blue line. Because during the regular season, sometimes to a fault, the Hurricanes offense ran through the defensemen. Talked about Brady Shea, talked about Brent Burns. These guys carried a very, very big load offensively this season. And aside from this postseason, the only guy who has scored a goal out of the defenseman has been Jacob Slavin, of all guys. So I'm really going to want to see that improve. Again, I don't want it to run completely through them, kinda like it did it sometimes in the regular season. I don't want that, but I do want these guys to show up, in terms of facilitating some offense and getting some pucks in the back of the net, because that was one thing that really, at times, worked in the Hurricanes' favor. But on the flip side, we are still going to want the forwards to be forwards. They're the guys that are supposed to get the puck in the back of the net. I want to see them continue to do that. Again, Sebastian Aho, really good first round, 4 goals, 3 assists. Seth Jarvis was really good as well. Steph Nason, as I mentioned, really good on the power play. These are going to be guys I want to see them continue. Jesper Kotkaniemi, he's another guy that I'm looking at. He felt like he was knocking on the door, ready to break it down in that first round series. I want to see him break that door down and get it done and be a force in this second round series against whether it be the Devils or the Rangers. That's going to be really important for them. And I'm really looking forward to seeing what they can get done here in the second round. Now, again, we've talked about a lot of guys I want to see, but there are these guys that X factors. Like these guys could really make a difference in this next series. And these X factors players are going to be the guys we talk about next, and guys that are really going to play a vital role in this next series against the Rangers or the Devils. And we'll talk about that right after this quick break. All right, folks, it's time to talk about the X Factor players. We've talked about a lot of these guys already today, but I do want to stress how big of a difference these guys can make. And first off the top is Sebastian Aho and Brent Burns. We've talked about them a lot today, but these are guys that this is what they're here for. This is why, Sebastian Aho is the face of the franchise. He's going to be your X factor guy here, especially with Andrei Svechnikov and Max Pacioretty being out. All right. He's going to be the guy that they're looking for to be making a lot of these clutch shots. You saw it in game 6. He scored the game tying goal. Paul Stastny, the game winning goal. So he's going to need to be the guy. He's the guy now for the Hurricanes with Svech being out. So a lot of stuff is going to run through him. And with Tavo being out as well, he's really going to have to be on his A game in terms of playmaking ability as well. We know he can do it. We've seen it before. That's not necessarily a worry of can he do it. It's just will he do it? And that's not a detriment to him at all. We all know he's a great player. It's just, sometimes in playoffs of the past few years, the Hurricanes offense is just dried up. And again, if they play the Rangers, that is something that, it can be rough. It can be really, really rough for him this postseason. And then secondly, Brent Burns, he's another guy, he's going to have to play like a top guy. This is why the Hurricanes made the trade for him. Is moments like this, like, all right, we're down a lot of guys. He's your top offensive defenseman. He's leading the team, 5 assists or leading. No, he's team leading 5 assists, and of course leading the defenseman. And he's a guy. He's gonna like Aho. Tavo's out. He's gonna need to be on his A game with facilitating some offense and getting some stuff going. We know he can. Look at his numbers. He's already done it this series or this postseason, but this is going to be a really, really tough series. We thought the Islander series was tough. This one is going to be even tougher because, the Devils are really good and they're hot right now too. They're feeling themselves. And then, as I've said, the Rangers having the Hurricanes number. Another X Factor, former Ranger, Brady Shea. We talked about him today already. He's a guy, he's got to get it going. Like, let's see the Brady Shea we were seeing during the regular season where offense was really running through him, whether it was scoring goals or creating chances for other guys and not racking up the assists. Like, well, let's see this stuff from him because we're going to need it because everyone's going to know, all right, Brent Burns, he's going to be doing a lot. Again, I know these guys are on separate pairings, but offense ran through the blue line a lot this season. We need it to show back up here in this second round, big time. And Brady Shea was one of the best ones we had. And again, a quietly really, really good season. I want to say it was fourth for defensemen in goals this year. But he was right up there with these guys that are going to contend for the Norris. So I kind of want to see him return to that level of play this series against whoever it is we're playing. Another guy that, and we can make, lists, for every single guy on the roster of why they could be an X factor in this series. But the last one I want to touch on is Frederik Andersen. Again, we finally saw him in game 6, his first playoff game in over 900 days since the bubble. So, that was good for him, to get back, have a really good game. But one thing I want to see from him is consistency from Freddie. And because, this season is kind of up and down. Okay, he did deal a lot with injuries this year. So, that's one thing. But he didn't feel like he was at the same level he was last year before he tore his, what was it, MCL or something, before he got hurt out in Denver. I kind of want to see that Freddie again because we're going to need it. We're going to need our number one goalie this series. We need him, and we need him to play like the number one goalie, especially since we're not going to have so many offensive pieces. If we had Svech, Pacioretty, Teravainen, if we had all those guys and Freddie, the Hurricanes could hang with the best of them and get it done. I mean, the Hurricanes, again, the home ice runs through Raleigh now, so it's not like they can't get the job done. But if they were completely healthy, they could easily, go for it and make that run, and we wouldn't be talking about oh who can they get it done? We wouldn't be looking at some of these other little things that feel like they could where the Hurricanes kind of feel outmatched a bit. So Freddie, he's gonna have to play like a number one goalie. Antti Ranta is gonna have to be playing like the Antti Ranta we saw all season long. Where if he wasn't the backup, if he was the number one goalie, if he was a bigger name, he'd be in Vezina conversation. Look at the crazy good season he had. Look at the crazy good playoffs he's had. And so we're going to need Freddie to be Freddie, Fredzilla, the brick wall. That's what we're going to need from him in this second round series, especially if it's the Rangers. We know how good they are offensively. Devils as well. We need that brick wall in between the pipes. That's what we're going to need. And the Hurricanes offense, like I said, all these guys we talked about today, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, Brent Burns, Brady Shea, Steph Nazen, these got top to bottom, from the biggest name like Sebastian Aho all the way down the lineup, gonna need a full, complete team effort in this series. And that's honestly the biggest X factor of all is the team game. Can they just continue to play, like a team? And not that they haven't, but like we said many times, when they are firing on all cylinders, you know, forwards are doing their job, defensemen are doing theirs, goalies doing theirs, power play, penalty kill. When everything is clicking, this team is very, very dangerous, and we're going to need everything to be clicking in this next series. Whoever it is we end up playing, we'll know that later on tonight. Round two, excuse me, will start on Wednesday evening. Times have not been announced yet. We figure it'll probably be 7 o'clock, like normal. But this is going to be fun stuff for the Hurricanes. And it not only is it going to be fun, it's going to be difficult as well. And the Hurricanes are going to need to be on their A game. But we will talk more about who the Hurricanes will be playing and just how exactly they can plan for this upcoming series in the next episode. So make sure you are following Locked on Hurricanes on Twitter at @LO_Hurricanes, myself on Twitter at JaredEllis_96, and subscribe to the show on YouTube. And I'll talk to you guys in the next episode. And as always, let's go Canes.